California's golden dream is cracking. Across the state that once symbolized opportunity, entire cities are watching their housing markets collapse as residents flee, prices plummet, and once thriving neighborhoods turn eerily quiet. In 2025, over 47,000 Californians left the state each month, abandoning homes they can no longer afford to keep. Could your city be next on this alarming list? From Silicon Valley suburbs to Central Valley farm towns, these 10 cities are flashing the same warning signs we saw before previous housing crashes. Only this time, the exodus might be permanent. We're starting with number 10, where a former comeback story is quickly becoming California's newest cautionary tale. Stockton was supposed to be California's great comeback story. After emerging from bankruptcy in 2015, this Central Valley city seemed poised for growth. New developments sprouted up, young families moved in, and home prices climbed steadily to $485,000 by 2022. But fast forward to 2025, and those same homes are selling for just $398,000. That's an $87,000 plunge, wiping out years of equity for thousands of homeowners. Walk through Stockton's neighborhoods today, and you'll see the warning signs everywhere. For sale signs that used to disappear in weeks are now collecting dust for over 120 days. Housing inventory has exploded by 85% compared to last year, creating a buyer's market that buyers aren't showing up for. Why? Because the fundamentals that once made Stockton attractive are crumbling fast. Crime rates are climbing as the population shrinks. Nearly 8,000 residents packed up and left in 2024 alone, leaving behind empty houses and strained city services. Foreclosure filings have skyrocketed by 73% as underwater homeowners simply walk away, rather than keep paying mortgages on homes worth less than they owe. Young families, the backbone of any growing community, are citing safety concerns and rising costs as deal breakers. The ripple effects are everywhere. Schools are losing enrollment, local businesses are struggling, and entire subdivisions that once buzzed with activity now feel eerily quiet. Stockton's comeback story is becoming a cautionary tale about how quickly a housing market can unravel when the underlying economy starts to crack. While Stockton struggles with urban decay, our next city faces a different crisis: the tech exodus. The tech industry's retreat is hitting Fremont harder than almost anywhere else in California. This Silicon Valley bedroom community, once home to ambitious engineers and software developers, watched median home prices soar to $1.2 million during the pandemic boom. Today, those same properties are selling for $965,000. That's a staggering $235,000 drop, and the slide isn't slowing down. What happened to the tech paradise? Massive layoffs, that's what. Tesla and Meta alone have eliminated over 15,000 local jobs since 2023, sending shockwaves through neighborhoods where six-figure salaries were the norm. When your primary industry starts cutting deep, everything else follows. Luxury home inventory has quadrupled as displaced tech workers pack up for Austin, Miami, or anywhere else their skills might pay the bills. Drive through Fremont's downtown core, and you'll see the carnage firsthand. Commercial real estate vacancy has hit 42%, with empty office buildings and shuttered restaurants creating an eerie ghost town vibe in what used to be a bustling business district. The ripple effects are hitting families hard. School enrollment has plummeted by 12% as parents relocate to Texas and Florida, where their savings stretch further and job opportunities haven't dried up. The community that once attracted the brightest minds in tech is now watching those same families load moving trucks and head for greener pastures. Fremont's transformation from innovation hub to exodus epicenter shows just how quickly the California dream can turn into a financial nightmare when the economic foundation shifts. From tech job losses to agricultural decline, California's Central Valley faces its own unique crisis. Modesto's agricultural backbone is snapping under the weight of California's worst drought in decades. This Central Valley city, built on farming prosperity, has watched home values tumble from $425,000 to $368,000 as the foundation of its economy literally dries up. When the fields stop producing, everything else crumbles. The numbers tell a devastating story. Severe drought conditions have forced widespread farm closures, eliminating 8,500 agricultural jobs since early 2023. That's not just statistics on paper. That's entire families losing their livelihoods in a city where farming has been the economic lifeline for generations. Water restrictions have made new construction nearly impossible, choking off any hope of economic diversification when the community needs it most. The human exodus is accelerating. Over 6,200 residents fled Modesto in 2024 alone, taking their purchasing power and tax dollars with them. Who can blame them? When your job disappears and water costs more than gasoline, staying put becomes financially impossible. The housing market reflects this harsh reality. Homes now sit on the market for 95 plus days, compared to just 30 days during better times. The buyer pool has shrunk to almost nothing because the employment base that once supported homeownership has evaporated. Drive through Modesto's residential neighborhoods, and you'll see the evidence everywhere. For sale signs aging in front yards, empty driveways, and the kind of quiet that signals economic distress. This isn't just a temporary downturn, it's a fundamental shift that's reshaping the entire region. While inland cities face drought, coastal communities battle their own environmental challenges. Vallejo once offered the perfect compromise for Bay Area families: waterfront living without the San Francisco price tag. Middle-class workers could afford a home here while keeping their high-paying city jobs just a ferry ride away. But that delicate balance is collapsing, and home prices have tumbled from $625,000 to $542,000 as the community that made Vallejo viable starts to vanish. The transportation lifeline that built this city is being severed. Ferry service cuts have left commuters stranded, turning what used to be a pleasant 30-minute boat ride into a grueling 2-hour driving nightmare through bridge traffic. When your commute becomes unbearable, something's got to give. And for many families, it's their Vallejo address. But transportation troubles are just the beginning. Rising crime rates and expanding homeless encampments have created safety concerns that are driving away the exact demographic Vallejo needs: young families with stable incomes. The school district is facing a budget crisis as declining property tax revenue forces painful cuts to programs and staff. Meanwhile, persistent rumors about Mare Island Naval Shipyard facing closure threaten to eliminate one of the few remaining sources of stable, well-paying employment. The ripple effects are creating a downward spiral. Fewer families means less local spending, which hurts businesses and reduces tax revenue even further. Properties sit longer on the market as potential buyers question whether Vallejo's problems are temporary setbacks or permanent decline. For a city that once bridged the gap between affordability and opportunity, that gap is widening into a chasm. From Bay Area struggles to desert challenges, our next city faces unique inland pressures. Victorville's high desert location made it the perfect pandemic refuge for remote workers escaping Los Angeles prices. Affordable homes at $395,000, wide open spaces, and the freedom to work from anywhere. It seemed like the ideal setup. But in 2025, those same homes are selling for just $318,000 as the remote work dream turns into a commuting nightmare. Return-to-office mandates have shattered Victorville's appeal overnight. That 90-minute drive to Los Angeles becomes unbearable when you're doing it twice daily, 5 days a week. Gas costs, vehicle wear, and sheer exhaustion are forcing families to choose between their jobs and their homes. For most, the job wins, and Victorville loses another resident. The exodus is accelerating thanks to problems that go far beyond commuting. Extreme weather events are making life increasingly difficult. Record-breaking heat waves exceeding 115 degrees followed by flash floods that wash out roads and damage homes. The cannabis industry, which brought thousands of jobs and tax revenue during the legalization boom, has collapsed as oversupply and regulatory costs drove companies out of business. Infrastructure can't keep up with the challenges. Water shortages are becoming routine, and power grid failures leave entire neighborhoods without electricity during the scorching summer months when air conditioning isn't a luxury, it's survival. When basic services become unreliable and your commute becomes impossible, staying put stops making financial sense. The high desert's isolation, once its greatest selling point, has become its biggest liability in a world demanding connectivity and reliability. While desert cities empty out, Even California's tourist destinations aren't immune. Salinas built its reputation as America's salad bowl, feeding the nation with lettuce, strawberries, and countless other crops. Home prices reflected that agricultural prosperity, reaching $715,000 as the food industry boomed. But technology and economics are reshaping this Central Coast city in ways that spell trouble for homeowners, with values now sliding to $612,000 as the community's foundation erodes. Automation is displacing the workforce that made Salinas thrive. Mechanical harvesters and robotic systems have eliminated thousands of agricultural jobs, reducing the city's population by 4,800 residents who simply can't find work. When machines replace humans, the tax base shrinks and housing demand disappears along with the paychecks. The problems run deeper than job losses. Gang violence and drug trafficking have created safety concerns that scare away young families, exactly the demographic any recovering city needs. Pesticide contamination issues are raising health questions that make properties harder to sell, especially to buyers with children. Major agricultural employers are relocating operations to Mexico and cheaper states where labor costs and regulations are more favorable. You can see the impact in everyday life. Schools are losing enrollment, local businesses are struggling, and entire neighborhoods feel quieter as families pack up and leave. The agricultural empire that built Salinas is shifting away, leaving behind a community grappling with an uncertain future and property values that reflect growing doubt about the city's economic prospects. The transformation happening here shows how quickly global economic forces can undermine local prosperity. From agricultural decline to retail apocalypse, our next city shows how economic shifts devastate communities. Antioch is experiencing economic devastation on multiple fronts simultaneously. This East Bay city once offered middle-class families affordable home ownership at $565,000 while maintaining access to Bay Area opportunities. Today, those same homes are selling for $445,000 as a perfect storm of industrial collapse, environmental problems, and infrastructure failures drives residents away. The foundation of Antioch's economy is crumbling. Refinery closures have eliminated 3,200 high-paying jobs that supported entire neighborhoods. These weren't minimum wage positions. These were careers that allowed families to buy homes, support local businesses, and build community wealth. When that employment base disappears, everything else follows. Environmental concerns are making daily life difficult and property ownership risky. Air quality warnings force families to stay indoors on days when children should be playing outside. Who wants to invest in a community where breathing the air poses health risks? Meanwhile, BART extension delays continue stranding commuters who need reliable public transit to reach San Francisco jobs, limiting the city's growth potential when expansion is desperately needed. The municipal budget crisis is forcing painful choices between essential services and tax increases. Neither option helps struggling residents or attracts new ones. When a city can't provide basic services without crushing taxpayers, the downward spiral accelerates. Streets go unrepaired, parks deteriorate, and the quality of life that once made Antioch attractive becomes a distant memory. The combination of lost jobs, health concerns, transportation problems, and municipal dysfunction creates a community few families want to join. Even cities with natural advantages aren't escaping California's housing crisis. Santa Maria should be thriving. This Central Coast gem boasts stunning scenery, perfect weather, and proximity to both mountains and ocean, everything that typically drives California real estate demand. Yet home values have crashed from $635,000 to $521,000 as residents abandon paradise for more practical destinations. The military foundation that anchored Santa Maria's economy is shifting. Defense spending cuts at Vandenberg Space Force Base are affecting 8,500 jobs, eliminating the stable, well-paying employment that allowed families to afford coastal living. When your biggest employer starts downsizing, the ripple effects hit every sector of the local economy. Meanwhile, wine industry consolidation is wiping out the family farming operations that gave Santa Maria its agricultural character. Corporate buyers are swallowing up small vineyards, mechanizing operations, and cutting jobs that once supported entire families. The romantic vision of wine country living is being replaced by industrial efficiency that needs fewer workers. Builders overestimated demand and created a housing supply glut that's drowning the market. New developments sit partially empty while existing homes struggle to find buyers. Young professionals who might have chosen Santa Maria are instead heading to North Carolina's Outer Banks or Florida's Gulf Coast, where coastal living doesn't require $1 million commitment. The community that once seemed destined for growth is watching its population drain away as economic fundamentals collapse beneath picture-perfect scenery. Even natural beauty can't overcome employment losses and affordability crises. From coastal struggles to inland devastation, our second-worst city shows how quickly things can collapse. Palmdale's collapse is happening at breathtaking speed. This Antelope Valley city built its identity around aerospace excellence, attracting engineers and technicians who earned solid middle-class wages building aircraft and defense systems. Home prices reflected that prosperity, reaching $485,000 as the industry thrived. But in 2025, those same homes are selling for just $378,000, a devastating $107,000 crash that's wiping out entire neighborhoods. The aerospace industry that created Palmdale is abandoning it. Defense contractor layoffs have eliminated 12,000 jobs since 2023, gutting the economic foundation that supported thousands of families. These weren't temporary furloughs. These were permanent position eliminations as companies moved operations to states with lower costs and fewer regulations. The housing market collapse is unlike anything California has seen outside of 2008. There's now a 6-month supply of unsold homes sitting on the market, creating a buyer's paradise that buyers can't afford to enter. Foreclosure waves are washing over neighborhoods as homeowners who owe more than their properties are worth simply walk away. Why keep paying a mortgage on a house that's lost a quarter of its value? Commercial real estate tells an even grimmer story. Business district vacancy has hit 38% as shops, restaurants, and service businesses close their doors. When both residential and commercial markets collapse simultaneously, you're looking at economic devastation that transforms thriving communities into ghost towns. Palmdale's transformation from aerospace hub to abandoned landscape shows how quickly specialized economies can unravel when their foundation disappears. But no California city exemplifies the housing crisis quite like our #1 cautionary tale. Bakersfield represents the most dramatic housing collapse in California's modern history. This Central Valley oil town has watched home values plummet from $315,000 to just $245,000, a staggering $70,000 crash that's turning entire neighborhoods into modern ghost towns. What makes Bakersfield's situation so alarming isn't just the speed of decline, but the fundamental forces making the city nearly uninhabitable. The oil industry that built Bakersfield is fleeing to Texas. Field closures have eliminated 15,000 jobs as energy companies relocate operations to states with friendlier regulations and lower costs. When your primary industry abandons you, economic recovery becomes almost impossible. Climate change is making daily life unbearable. Record-breaking temperatures exceeding 115 degrees Fahrenheit are forcing construction crews, agricultural workers, and anyone working outdoors to suspend operations during deadly heat waves. How do you build a sustainable economy when basic outdoor work becomes life-threatening? Water table depletion threatens the city's long-term survival. Wells are running dry, and what water remains is increasingly expensive to extract. The mass exodus tells the story. 18,000 residents fled Bakersfield in 2024 alone, creating entire subdivisions with more for sale signs than occupied homes. Drive through Bakersfield today and you'll see the future of climate-impacted communities. Empty streets, shuttered businesses, and abandoned homes that nobody wants to buy. This isn't just a housing market correction. It's a preview of what happens when environmental reality collides with economic dependency, creating conditions that make entire cities unsustainable.